Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to our webinar, Anaplan in 30 Minutes. We're looking forward to walking through an enterprise-ready workforce and salary planning process with you in Anaplan today. And we've tied in a realistic twist that many of you joining us today may have come up against yourselves, having to make last-minute changes to your planning reporting when management needs it most. We'll have more on that for you later from today's presenters. And speaking of our presenters, I'm happy to introduce Justin D'Onofrio and Joe McLaughlin. Justin is one of our two founders here at Platform Specialist and leads our forecasting and planning practice. Justin has a self-proclaimed bad Jersey accent, which you'll have the pleasure of hearing soon enough. He's born and raised, just who he is, nothing he can do about it. So we'll get into that soon. But Justin has been serving clients in the EPM space for over 10 years and really focuses on those larger scale enterprise EPM deployments. Joe McLaughlin is a data guru who does everything and anything Anaplan when he's not dedicating himself to keeping that incredible beard perfectly on point. So I hope you enjoy the view of that as well. And I'm Molly Mackler, our Director of Client Success. Anything and everything that you need, Platform Specialist, I'm your point of contact. So feel free to reach out despite the fact that I'm a Duke grad and super fan. Promise we're not all bad, so please feel free to reach out. A little bit about Platform Specialists, our firm. We pride ourselves on straight shooters who serve our clients first. We partner with the leading EPM technologies in the space, and today we'll be focusing specifically on Anaplan. Our goal is to tailor the best fit of our services, solutions, and technologies for your specific business and business goals. And a key differentiator that we bring to the table is that each of our consultants thoroughly understands both the technical and functional components of the business problems that our clients face. And that really gives our firm the ability to serve our clients efficiently and effectively. And we bring Big Four experience to the table without any of the red tape. We've implemented over 200 solutions within the EPM space, and we're based on the East Coast, although we do serve clients across the US as well as internationally. Platform Specialist has supported clients across virtually all major industries, and we're familiar with the issues that they face in their specific business goals. We'll be focusing on budgeting and planning today, and we can also help clients with financial consolidation and close, financial reporting, and business analysis, as well as systems integration. Okay, enough about us. I'll pass it over to Justin D'Onofrio to get us started with an introduction to Anaplan, but first, a quick poll to see who has already fallen asleep or gotten distracted by their lunch or breakfast for our West Coasters. So go ahead.
Great, thanks.
Yep.
Great, thanks, Molly. This is Justin D'Onofrio. You know it's me because of hopefully the not too terrible Jersey accent that's coming through. As Molly mentioned, I lead the forecasting space, and I'll be leading a little bit of the demo today for everyone. So before we get into it, let's just talk a little bit about what Anaplan is in a real high-level 10,000-foot view. Anaplan is a connected financial and business planning platform, so it allows you to deploy across your organization functionally and reach really everyone, your finance folks, your supply chain folks, your marketing folks, and your sales folks in a very connected and efficient manner. It's all cloud-based, so while we love IT, it's nice that we don't have to deploy an infrastructure to get Anaplan ready and enterprise available in your organization. One of the key differentiators of Anaplan is it's real time. So all the forecasting, calculations, and process that you'll see today is real time, and you are able to see the impact to changes on your P&L immediately as you do what-if analysis. And lastly, it's really built around quick project return on investment. So very quick deployments for project where people can see results and get the benefit weeks, not months. And to continue a little bit, just a high level, Anaplan is getting a lot of recognition in the space. It's recognized by Gartner as a leader in the Magic Quadrant of FP&A cloud solutions, and it's being deployed to a lot of Fortune 500 and large enterprise clients. So enough about Anaplan and enough about us. but let's get into our functional mindset here and talk about what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at a personnel planning solution that covers forecasting key people-related costs, things that we really impact our P&L: salary, bonus, benefits, merit, taxes. We at Platform designed this planning process to be very straightforward and easy to use. We think that's a key to deployment, is making sure that people adopt the solution. And we also really wanted to focus on minimizing what we call mechanical planning, things that are non-value added, and maximizing the business analysis and insight. We're also aligned with real-world requirements. So while we will be walking through a basic model, this is something that has been rolled out to Fortune 500 clients, and the nuts and bolts are real-world and applicable. So I'm going to make my acting debut right now as Justin, the Regional Finance Director for an unnamed organization. And just to set the stage, it is Friday at 4 p.m. So this may be a little bit pie in the sky, but I really have a target to get out of the office at 5 p.m. I have something that I need to attend, and I really, really want to get this done. But unfortunately, I get an email from our CFO. He has 30 exclamation points in the email, so I know I have to read this before I head out the door. What our CFO is telling us is that our Jersey office, one of the regions that I manage, is projecting an unexpected increase in sales by 25%. He also knows we can't support that with our current New Jersey staff, so he wants an updated compensation plan by the close of business. He gave me some high-level metrics. He wants to keep our personnel costs at 30% of sales, which is something we discussed offline in a previous conversation. We need to maintain our diversity mix for reporting purposes, and he really wants us to be less top-heavy and become more of a pyramid structure. So with that in mind, I'm going to get right into my 4 o'clock activities of trying to get this out the door. So what I'm going to do is log into our company's workforce planning application in the Anaplan platform. And as I log in, I'm going to be brought to my view as a region owner for our forecast of workforce-related expenses. But the first thing I'm going to do is focus on the New Jersey region, so make sure I'm checked off that I'm analyzing the right business unit that our CFO was referring to in the email. And as I change to the New Jersey region, you can see my old forecast from a prior cycle is in here. And I really want to start taking the CFO's input and modeling out my what-if version of this workforce forecast. It's important to note that as a region owner, I'm not building the operational workforce forecast, so I don't get down to the level of the individual folks that would be going in and out of the department, but I do want to give some direction to that person on exactly how they should look at a revised operational personnel plan. So the first thing I'm going to do is update my sales growth target, which is going to move from 10 to 25%. And I'm also going to update my workforce as percent of sales target. So now I'm really just getting in those goals from the CFO. And as I do that, you can see that my target from a forecast standpoint is pretty far off of where I need to be to hit my CFO's overall target for the revised sales increase. Just to give everyone a lay of the land here, I can see my prior year sales, my current sales forecast, which has been increased based on the projection, my current workforce expense, which is sitting down at my P&L at about 2.05 million. And I can see that my workforce percent of sales from a bottom-up perspective is far off from my 30% target. I should also take a look at just the distribution of that pyramid target that the CFO had laid out. And I can see I'm still very top-heavy. Most of the compensation from a overall job position standpoint is sitting at our director and manager level, very little at the analyst role. And even just the headcount distribution is relatively even. So we need to get closer to that top-down pyramid target that we talked about. The way I'm going to do that from a regional owner perspective is do some high-level what-if type buildup of this workforce forecast. And I'm going to do that through headcount adjustments at some of the key positions that we have in our New Jersey office: sales, finance, and IT. So I'm going to take a quick stab at making some real-time adjustments to our headcount. And as you can see, everything updates in real time. I can see the impact of my P&L on those hires, and I can see that I'm getting closer to my forecast target. As I go through the individual job roles, I do know that we have a finance director that's going to be transitioning out of the New Jersey office, so I'm going to net that person down. I'm also going to sprinkle in a couple more finance managers and analysts to support that sales growth. And we always love the help of our IT folks, so I'm also going to add those individuals in there from a headcount growth perspective. So just very quickly, you can see that I'm getting a lot closer to my target that the CFO set for me. I'm up to about 3.1 million in total compensation, and my workforce as a percent of sales is actually right on target. But as a region owner, I know that there's going to be a lot of work involved with the rollout of this sales increase, just a lot of support staff that we're going to need to really facilitate that growth. So I want to give a 10% target merit increase or promotion to everyone that's going to be in the New Jersey office. Unfortunately, when I do that, I'm getting a little bit far out of the target that the CFO had set at 31% of sales. I can try and submit that, but I'm not going to be able to because my target has not been met. It's a bit too high. So I think I'm going to go back and also take a look at our compensation by level. We're a bit closer, so we do get a little bit more of the costs concentrated at the entry-level position, so to speak, but I think I can get that a little bit better. And what I'm going to do is just take out some of these sales, higher-level sales folks, and focus on those, building up those new hires. When I change that distribution and put 4 analysts in place of the director and the manager, I can see that now my P&L jumps up to about 3.2 million. I'm hitting my workforce percent of sales target, and I'm very happy with this distribution of costs from the top down. I can see that a lot of my spend is really focused on building up those young folks. I also have just some reporting that I created as a region owner that helps me facilitate my internal processes. And one of those is diversity reporting. So I don't necessarily manage the diversity targets or anything like that, but I do talk with the person who manages them and make sure they have the information they need. So I'm going to go ahead and download this distribution as a PDF, email it out to the manager of diversity reporting, and make sure our targets are set properly. And lastly, one of my personal favorite charts is the ability to see my spend across the individual roles. So if I want to just take a look at how that spread looks when I take out my analyst level positions, I can see the real-time impact of that spread across the 100% of costs. So as a region owner, I'm pretty happy with what I have from a planning perspective. It took me a couple minutes to build up a realistic plan. I haven't operationalized it yet because that's not necessarily my job, but I am going to go ahead and send an email to our operational business unit planner to facilitate this plan and put it into action, really getting to hiring and firing the individuals that are needed to make this plan happen. So with that being said, I'm going to send my email and also pass it over to Joe McLaughlin.
Great. Thank you very much, Justin. I'll bring up my screen here. Great. So Justin's finished his work. Great news. We'll pass it over to me at this point. At about 4:30, I get this email from Justin telling me about the good news about the projected growth in sales. But the flip side of that is we need to make sure that these new workforce adjustments that Justin just planned out get updated in the system, make sure they're hitting our P&L, and we can go about planning after that and making those slots open for hiring. So, have about half an hour. I also want to get out of here at 5 o'clock, hopefully. So that's not a lot of time to get this process done, but you'll be able to see that with Anaplan. This is actually not a big lift. So let's jump right into it. So I'll bring you to my view in Anaplan here. This is actually worth noting. It's the same model that Justin was making his adjustments in. You can actually see those adjustments down here, which are going to really drive my changes, reference point for me to make sure I'm making the right adjustments. But my dashboard obviously looks a lot different. That's because as the regional planner, I have a different role than Justin in this model. So the information that I'm seeing and interacting with isn't the same as his. So you're not going to have that problem of, copying over someone else's work in a different role or anything like that, even though it's all feeding off each other and, adjusting in real time. So you can see that my dashboard's pretty bare right now. That's because I don't actually have my employee roster in the database yet. My roster's out here in this, standard Excel file. This probably looks pretty similar to files that a lot of you have used in the past, just standard roster information, employee names, and some key details about themselves. So what I'm going to do is take that, import it, do that right now, and you'll see in just a second, all set, it's all imported. Everything updates automatically to get that in there. And now we're looking at that same information just in a much nicer looking and more interactive way. We can do some pretty quick analysis and changes based on that. So the things that are really going to drive my decisions, other than, of course, Justin's adjustments down here, is this top left graph here. This is going to have our target percent of sales and then the workforce percent of sales, which is what we currently have on our books. After I make these adjustments, ideally, this variance will drop down to 0 and we'll hit that workforce percent of sales. And then here I also have some other information, headcount by level distribution, and then diversity reporting, just to make sure that I'm in line with those other guidelines that have been sent down from the CFO in terms of making sure we hit those targets. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'll scroll down a little bit to the Manage Current Employees section. This is where I'll start making my first changes. You can see here, this is the overall P&L and some key financial metrics for the New Jersey region. And as I make my adjustments, you'll see those numbers change. So first thing I'm going to do is take care of this finance director. As Justin mentioned, we know that he's transferring out of the New Jersey region. It's actually this guy right here, Dennis Bergen. You can already see that his transfer status is set to pending. That's because the regional planner in the New York region has already accepted his transfer. All we have to do is key it in at this point. So what I'll do is set him to transfer to New York. Set the effective date. We'll call ourselves in start of the year right now. So I'll say that we'll transfer out in March. Now all I do is hit transfer. All set. He's approved, and now our P&L is reading that as of March 1st. We don't have to account for this person in our system anymore. He's been transferred over to the P&L regionally for New York. Second thing we're going to do here is take care of this finance manager position. We know that we have to make an adjustment here, but instead of hiring externally, what we're going to do is promote someone. We have Tammy Caro down here as our finance analyst. She's been killing it over the course of the year. She's really stepped up her leadership, and we think that she'd be a great, make a great finance manager. We've been having those conversations with her already, so it looks like it'll be a great fit. So we'll put her as finance manager. Since we've been having those conversations, we'll promote her very soon. We'll say a week out. And then, of course, we'll give her a little pay bump to reflect that new position. Finally, I'll just list her as full-time. And then again, with that, our P&L updates, as of a week from now. And now she's in the system, with that new salary. So moving on, those are the internal moves that we want to make. And now we're going to get to hiring externally and getting those numbers in. So again, we've got these numbers up here. This finance analyst number, I'm actually going to make 4 now since we're promoting up Tammy from analyst to manager. But let's continue on. So we'll scroll down here to the to be hired section. This is where we're going to make our external adjustments. first thing I'm going to do is add a new employee. We actually have someone that we're bringing on already for this IT manager position right here. We've extended an offer to her and she's accepted. So now it's just a matter of getting her into the system. So we'll hit add employee, go to this new dashboard. I'll hit new employee. And that just creates a new employee slot in the list. So now all I have to do is enter her information. Throw her name in. And some of the key metrics here. Finally, I'll just add her in, at that manager level, key in what her comp structure looks like. And then finally, again, like Tammy, since we've been in conversations with her already, we'll say that she's starting pretty soon. And there you can see her information has been entered into the system and, real-time adjustments to that P&L. She's in the system now, and if we go back to that roster management, we can actually see her on the employee list down here. And again, that has been reflected in the P&L itself. So you can see we're starting to creep towards that goal. We'll continue to make some changes to make sure they get in there. So those are all the real world employees that we're adding in. Now we just need to add in those to be hired slots. We want to make sure we account for those. So when we open those positions online or, to whoever's going to be, applying for them, we've got that already counted. So in this to be hired area, I'll just list our analyst positions because that's what we have left. We're going to be opening 4 sales analyst slots, 4 finance analyst slots, and then 2 IT analysts. So I'll add those into the headcount multiplier. I'm actually going to key in a little salary adjustment for the IT analysts. We want to bring in people that are a little more experienced, a little more senior, just to build out that team a little bit more. And we think that, additional compensation for that position will be a good way to do that. So the last thing we do is just add them all, make sure they're listed as full-time. We don't have to put a begin date or anything like that because they're all, kind of open slots to be hired, but they're still in the system regardless. And if we scroll back up here, you can see again that P&L's adjusted to compensate for that. And if we get back up here towards this workforce percent of sales, you can see we're almost there. We almost hit that target 30%. And additionally, you can see that, headcount by level is really what we want to see. That bottom heavy, analyst headcount is looking good. Diversity reporting is looking good. It, looks more or less consistent to what it was before, which is again what the CFO wants to see as well. So the last thing I'm going to do here is hit this apply target merit. This is that merit increase that Justin accounted for in his what if planning we saw a little bit earlier. And I'll just make sure that that's actually updated in the system. So with that, you can see it brings us up to 30%. We've hit our target and everything else looks, looks exactly like what it should for what those guidelines are. So now everything's all set in the system. Operationally, our P&L has been updated to adjust for those new employees and potential new employees. And it's not even 5 o'clock. So I can still get out of here on time, which is nice. So really, all that's left for me is to send the good news over to Justin, say that we're good to go. And he can in turn tell the CFO that we're all set. And that's really as simple as that, crisis averted. And with that, I'll exit out of this and pass it back over to Molly for some questions.
Okay.
Hey everyone, this is Justin checking back in. Joe and I are now, it's 5 o'clock and we're now sitting by the beach drinking mojitos. We got out in the time that we wanted to. I do know that there are a couple Q&A questions that are already up, so we can go ahead and answer those live. And if anyone's interested in asking a question, feel free to do so through the Q&A button. The first is, can you adjust the planning model to forecast beyond the current year on the fly? The short answer is yes. This model is something that we built as a platform specialist team that we think accounts for most of the common ways to plan workforce-related expenses, but it's completely customizable to your needs. There's no restrictions on the number of years that can be planned at a given point in time. Second question was, do you need to re-import a file every time you want to update your data? And can you add data on top of existing data? The short answer there is you have a lot of methods to be able to get data into Anaplan. One is the method that we use, which is sort of the user-driven approach of allowing someone to upload a file that's building a forecast. You also have a number of other methods, including enterprise-grade ETL data loading. So if you have in-house ETL tools, they can integrate with Anaplan. And same type of considerations for any other system. If data will potentially overwrite if it's the same intersection, and you have just a lot of options from an ETL standpoint. The next one on the list is, can PVCS, which is an Oracle technology, interface with Anaplan to get a full P&L view? I think the very similar answer to the prior question, data in and out of Anaplan is facilitated through those three, let's call them three options that I mentioned. The first is user-driven file movement. The second is enterprise ETL processes. And the third would be somewhere in between those two, so partial automation of moving data back and forth. There are definitely no hard restrictions on data moving to and from Anaplan, and we can talk about specific use cases as a follow-up if anyone has questions related to their specific system. Another question popped up as well, which I believe is the same. How difficult is it to export data to another system? So we're getting a lot of questions about data movement to and from Anaplan. I think we've covered the general basis, but a takeaway from our side is we can summarize to the folks that are on the call the methodologies for getting data in and out of Anaplan, which are the common ones that every system will have available to them. And can you use any browser? Short answer on that one is yes, it's very flexible for across browser use. Don't see any other questions popping up. Molly, I'll turn it over back to you. And if anyone else asks a question, I'll jump back on.
Okay, great. Thanks, Justin. And that concludes our webinar for today, unless we have any more questions come up. We really appreciate you joining. Thank you so much for attending. You'll be receiving a note from me after the webinar to schedule a demo of Anaplan with us. And we really appreciate you taking the time to join. Looking forward to connecting with you soon. Any other questions before we conclude our Q&A?
Did see one last one pop up before we wrap up here. Does it have an Excel add-in? Yes, it does. Anaplan has an Excel add-in.
Okay.
Thanks everybody for attending. As Molly mentioned, if you have any additional questions or want to dive deeper into your potential use cases, feel free to reach out. This was a workforce-focused demo, but of course, Anaplan is a platform that really can facilitate any planning in your entire organization. Thanks again for everyone that attended.